Welcome to the Matthias Jones Mysteries, the Prince William Slasher by R.P. Fitton, as read by the author. Copyright 2018 by the Robert P. Fitton Revocable Trust. Prince William Slasher, Chapter 1. Jones's Office, Hamilton College Gymnasium, Hamilton, New Hampshire. An obsessive killer is neither obsessed or a killer in his own mind. He seeks a fervid revenge based on a perceived or a real injustice. Jones looked up at a huge-boned man with a square jaw and bulging blue eyes. The guy had a deep crevice in his brow and looked as if he were confused about life. He held a long piece of chalk. On the black chalkboard in the locker room, he had drawn offensive and defensive alignments for what he labeled his secret football plays. Jones almost lost his balance in Lark's old shaky oak chair. "Who did you say you are?"
"Well, I'm Froggy Finley. I'm your assistant coach."
"I never hired an assistant coach."
"What are you, ignorant?"
Jones leaped from the chair and exited into the locker room. "You come in here and you start flapping your trap. Now beat it." The towering, broad-shouldered Froggy pounded the chalk on the board as he spoke.
"The heart of an offense in the defense includes the players in the middle of the offensive formation and the defensive alignment."
"Yeah, well, that's nice, Froggy. Now run along. I'm trying to change this ridiculous recruiting system."
"Ridiculous?"
exclaimed Froggy, leaning in Jones's face.
"That system is the time-tested keys to victory that Lark used for years."
"Yeah, well, unfortunately, the keys never started the engine." Froggy clenched his fist and moved it in a circular motion.
"I ought to cold cock you for that remark."
"Froggy, I've got 2 words for you."
"What's that?"
asked Froggy, his hands on the desk. "You're fired." Froggy placed his hands on his hips.
"I only take orders from Lark Larson."
"Yeah, you do that. You can track him down on his worldwide cruise. Now kindly leave before I call campus security."
"Hey, smartass, we don't have a campus security anymore." "Well, we have Lester, wherever the hell he is. So there."
"No security on campus?"
"Well, we need it with the Prince William Slasher on the loose."
"Right." Froggy then pouted and sat in the red vinyl chair next to the desk. Jones shrugged his shoulders and punched in the number of the Hamilton police station on the desk blotter.
"Hamilton, this is Ned."
"Ned, this is Matthias Jones."
Top of the morning to you, Coach."
"It's 1 o'clock, Ned."
"I was just telling Wendell, today will be sunshine all the way."
"Right. Ned, I need some help with my office on campus." Froggy's face reddened as his anger grew.
"Did you know I was a high school sensation? A #1 quarterback way back when. I can help you."
"Ned, I have a disturbance over here."
"The Slasher?"
"No, not the Slasher."
4 women dead in 6 weeks."
"Well, I have a problem right here on campus."
"Wendell's in the John, but if he ever gets out, I'll send him over."
"Where's George?" asked Jones.
"Don't rightly know. Think he's doing some shopping at Delmonico's market."
"Then send Wendell."
Wendell doesn't like to be disturbed while he's in the John."
"Just send him over here." The call ended and Jones stared at the receiver.
"People of this town aren't happy about you, Jones,"
said Froggy. "Froggy, I'm in charge, you're gone, and Lark's gone."
"You heartless bastard."
Jones again fought his way out of the unstable chair. "How many games did Lark win, Froggy?"
"Lark was winning before you were born, creep."
"I'll tell you what his record was. He had 37 wins and 250 losses. Not exactly a stellar performance. And Froggy, you were a part of the disaster."
"Oh, so you're a liar, too."
"Look, the cops are on their way. They can boot you out."
"Right, like they'd arrest Lark Larson's assistant. I ain't moving."
"I'm going out to the soda machine, and I'd advise you to put your keys on the desk and get out before I come back." Jones headed out the door as Froggy grumbled. "You'd better. Tell it to the cops."
"Right, Amundo."
said Froggy, crossing his legs.
Cops are too busy chasing down the slasher anyway.
Jones stopped and slowly turned. I think you're overreacting.
Oh, and you're so smart, you don't even know about the slasher.
No, I don't. Froggy laughed and looked away.
I ain't telling you nothing.
Fine. Jones, Coke in hand, walked back from the soda machine toward the gym. Wendell's cruiser rounded the circular drive outside the lobby. Jones entered the lobby and opened the outside doors. Student problem, Matthias? Asked Wendell, walking inside. Froggy Finley. What about him? Asked Wendell as he moved into the gym. He won't leave my office. Wendell's face tightened. Well, he's your assistant coach. Why should he leave the office? Because he's not my assistant coach. Wendell stopped. You fired Froggy Finley? The man is a legend. Legend? He's a babbling fool. Wendell produced his honking laugh as they veered across the wood floor. That's Froggy being Froggy. Well, let Froggy be Froggy somewhere else. Oh, don't get Froggy mad. What? There'll be riots in the street. I don't think so. Hey, Wendell, what's this about the Prince William slasher? I read an article this morning in the John. Mayor Picardo is in big trouble. If they don't catch the slasher, Picardo will be thrown to the curb. Just how many people have been killed? 4, all women. The killer slashes them and then puts duct tape over their mouths or vice versa. No fingerprints, nothing. They stepped into the locker room. Sounds like Picardo has a problem on his hands. They're pressuring Dom Pacheco and Kevin Phillips, the chief and the head detective. I know who they are, said Jones. The door to his office had been closed. Now what is he doing? Maybe Froggy wanted privacy, said Wendell. Jones jiggled the doorknob, but the door was locked. He looked through the office window. Well, where the heck is he? Wendell leaned to the far side of the window. I see him. He's hiding under the desk. Jones stared at Wendell and then saw Froggy's long clown sneakers and pant leg. He banged on the door. It's all over, Froggy. Let's go. I know how to get him out. How? Hey, Froggy, you just won Sal's number 3 burger special at the beach. Froggy's green sneakers twitched as Jones rolled his eyes. And you get a vanilla freeze with the fries. Froggy backed out. Incredible, said Jones. Froggy was now on his feet and the doorknob twisted. Come on, Froggy, I'll throw in the apple dapple. Thanks, Wendell. Froggy sneered at Jones. You reap what you sow, Jones. Wendell made a donkey face and escorted Froggy back into the gym. Jones checked his watch. Basketball practice was in 4 hours. With Froggy out of the way, he checked his notebook. His biggest hindrance in high school sports back in Indiana was Woozy Williams from North City. Woozy was also a friend. Having Woozy as an assistant coach in 3 sports would help him accomplish Hamilton Fletcher's goal of having winning teams. He punched in North City High School's number and was soon connected to the athletic department line, but the voicemail kicked in. Matthias Jones, formerly of Wabash Corners High School. This message is for Woozy Williams. Woozy, hope all is well with you and your family. Give me a call on my cell. Jones ended the call and found himself staring at photos of Lark and his teams, including baseball, basketball, and football action photos. A younger, dark-haired Froggy appeared in dozens of shots from numerous playing fields. In one framed photo, Lark, dumbfounded, stood with a shorter and intense Lester under the goalpost. Jones removed the photo from the wall. Mercy. His boys were out of shape and lacked basic basketball skills. Skip Olson threw the ball over everyone. It had bounced back and hit Spike Milligan in the back. When Gonzo McCracky pushed Biff Benson, Jones blew the whistle. I've never seen anything like this. He gestured with both hands. You can't win ball games without basics. If we don't win, we don't win, said a taller, blonde-haired kid. Who the hell are you? Light Horse Harry. Okay, said Jones. Enough with the bizarre nicknames. I want your first and last name. I take it yours is Harry. No, my name is Mike. Jones looked at him with his mouth open. From now on, it's just Mike. Wicks. Mike Wicks. And Gonzo? I'm Joe McCracky. How did you guys get these names? Coach Larson. He said it was for team morale. Wonderful. Biff, what's your name?
Steve Benson.
George Strickland, in uniform, appeared at the doors to the lobby down at the far end. Here's what we're going to do today and every day until the season ends in April. You're going to run around the campus, onto Route 7, up Fletcher Hill, and back to the gym. When you get back today, you can shower up. The bearded Leo Crowley, now team manager, sat in the lower bleachers and mouthed the words, "Wow." The team began walking toward the lobby. Jones began clapping. "Come on, let's run." Leo and George Strickland converged on Jones at mid-court.
You think they'll come back?
Asked Strickland. "That's their choice," said Jones. "They're so out of shape."
"I don't think Lark ever made any of his teams run," said Leo.
37 and 250. Remember that number. It's Lark's record.
"I had a talk with Froggy," said Strickland. "He'll stay out of your office."
"I have to say Wendell did get him out," said Jones.
"Froggy never met a meal he didn't like," said Leo.
"Hey, what's this about the Prince William slasher, George?" Strickland's dark eyes opened wide.
"Prince William is terrified, and many people here in Hamilton are uneasy."
Jones pinched his chin. Was the duct tape put on the victims before they were killed or after?
"Well, that's a good question. I don't think we know," said Strickland. "The killer's M.O. is to pour gin all over the victim."
"Psycho," said Leo. 4 women in 6 weeks? Asked Jones.
"It was a murder in Hamilton 2 years ago. No tape, no gin, just the wounds of a probable 7-inch blade, like a razor. Now, this is why I bring it up, because the wound with the razor matches the 4 slasher murders in Prince William."
"Interesting," said Jones. "What else? You know, the surrounding stuff?"
"Seems to be a motorcycle involved, or something smaller according to witness depositions."
"You're going to get your investigator's license?" asked Leo. "No, I am just a humble coach."
"Right," said Strickland. "Ask those boys running up Route 7 if they think you're humble."
Jones stayed in his office after the boys had showered. He had given them a pep talk and offered to buy them a meal at the Colonial House later. At least they had dropped the nicknames, and he sensed they were happy about that, too. He heard some commotion in the gym.
"Hey, Matthias! Matthias!"
Jones hurried out of his office and into the gym. Arnie Dewars, cigarette hanging from the corner of his mouth, swung hook shots upward. Muddy Jacobs cheered him on. Both men wore heavy, dirt-chunk boots. "Hey, get those boots off the gym floor!"
"Bang!"
said Arnie, scoring a hook shot from the foul line. Muddy retrieved the ball and threw it back to Arnie. "Arnie!" yelled Jones as he ran across the floor.
"Hey, Matthias! We're challenging you to a shooting contest," said Arnie. "I heard about the cruel and unusual tactics you use on your team."
"I'm just getting them in shape."
"I heard they were going to call the ASPCA," said Muddy.
Jones creased his brow as he turned to Arnie. "Get your damn boots off the floor and put out the cigarette."
"Touchy, touchy."
"No one comes on this floor without my permission."
"Oh, you're going to kick us out of here like you did poor Froggy?" asked Muddy.
"Exactly."
"You'll never find another assistant coach like Froggy," said Muddy.
"You know what, Muddy? I agree with you."
"Lark let people in the gym," said Arnie. "Some people are just tyrants, Muddy. Some people are nice guys."
Arnie dropped the ball and they started toward the lobby. "Arnie, too bad about you losing the Fletcher account," said Jones, returning his needling. "Guess that means all the college work, too."
"Yeah, he's dealing with crosstown lumber. They get cheap wood from Slovenia. There's bugs in that wood. He'll have things go bad and he'll be calling me back."
"Don't count on it."
"Hey, I'm not the one under pressure to win, Kokomo. You'll be back at Woburn Falls."
"Wabash Corners, Arnie. Goodbye."
"Aren't you going to say goodbye to me?"
asked Muddy. "I'm telling you both to beat it." Jones could hear Arnie render a few more touchy comments as they strutted out of the gym.
"Touchy, touchy."
His cell sounded. Aunt May was calling from Indiana. "Aunt May."
Sweeble's wondering.
"Oh, no."
Oh, yes.
Jones opened the door to the locker room. "What's she wondering about?"
She's trying to find you.
"Why?"
She says she made a mistake.
"Which time, Aunt May?" asked Jones, opening his door. Froggy left a bag of cheese crackers on the floor.
It gets better, Matthias.
"What do you mean?" He pitched the plastic bag in the trash.
She's hired a private investigator.
Oh, come on, it's over. Jones sat back in Lark's chair and his knees moved upward, but he held the desk.
Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's this crazy chair.
The guy's name is Tony Cruz.
Never heard of him.
He's from Vegas.
Vegas? How did she find him?
Internet.
Swell. Jones wrote down Cruz's name in his own notebook. Everyone knows where I am. Why hire an investigator?
You know Stephanie. She likes to do things her way.
Don't I know that?
How are you doing?
Things are real discombobulated here. Our team needs a lot of work. They don't know the basics, and they're out of shape. Other than that, we'll sweep it all. I need a new chair.
What?
Not important. Hamilton Fletcher's name flashed on the screen. I have a call coming in from Mr. Fletcher.
You best take it.
I best. I'll talk to you later, Aunt May. He pushed the button. Matthias Jones.
Jones? I saw your entire team invade my estate this afternoon and then run back down Fletcher Hill.
Well, sir, he began as his stomach fluttered.
That action is highly unusual, to say the least.
Sir, I can explain.
And I thoroughly approve. If one doesn't prepare, then everything goes to hell. You get that team in shape.
Well, they need basics also, Hamilton.
Absolutely. I can see I made the right move in bringing you to Hamilton. Keep up the good work, my boy.
Then he just hung up. No goodbye, no see you later, just dead air. Jones stared at the receiver. A pudgy man with wide shoulders, a flat nose, a cross between Babe Ruth and a pit bull knocked on the doorframe. He wore a green sweatshirt with white lettering and matching hat. St. Pat's. Can I help you? He held out his oversized hand.
Matt Connor. I coach St. Pat's. We're on your schedule in 3 sports.
Jones struggled to get out of the chair.
Told Lark 100 times to dump that chair.
Nice to meet you, Mac, said Jones. Mac had a tight grip. Well, it was time for Lark to step down. He's on a world cruise.
Maybe he'll find out the world isn't flat,
said Mac, laughing. He doesn't believe that, does he? Asked Jones.
Well, now your high school team from Indiana went all the way last fall.
We did. Very coachable kids.
Well, that may be true, but it helps to know what you're doing. Nothing against Lark. He's a dear man.
37 and 250?
Yeah,
said Mac, sighing. What brings you over here, Mac?
Well, my sister lives in Newtown. I thought I'd take a jaunt over the hills.
I'm glad you did. Say, Mac, I'm buying dinners at the Colonial House for my team tonight. You want to join us?
Under one condition.
What's that?
As long as your assistant coach isn't there.
Froggy has been given his walking papers.
Ah, the broom suite's clean. I'd be glad to join you.
The Prince William Slasher, Chapter 15, Shore Road Extension, Prince William, New Hampshire. Coco drove Bruno's blue truck through the grassy area along the bay. Jones was surprised Coco could still maneuver the truck at 60 miles an hour on the dirt road. Lester must know about this extension, said Jones. Sure he does, but don't discount his stupidity, Jonesy. Is there another way to get back to Hamilton? Through Toby Lake, but you need a dirt bike for that. Just narrow trails that come out south of town on Washington Street. He can't get away, said Jones, watching a red and black tanker move slowly in the distance across the bay. A tanker in tranquil Hamilton Bay. There's a terminal in Prince William. That's a major shipping lane out there. Coco shifted. How does that fish face actually think he's going to get away? Lester is slippery. Jones called Strickland on the speaker. But I agree.
Strickland.
We're almost in Hamilton, along the bay, George.
Well, don't bother looking for the truck because it's right here at Toby Lake.
Well, what does Lester have to say for himself?
Well, I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? Did you shoot him? Asked Jones.
Wendell left his cruiser running and...
Coco shook his head and drove. He spoke in a lower voice. That fool Harris just let Fishface hijack his cruiser.
Leaving all points out for that cruiser.
We'll look for the cruiser and not the truck. Jones hung up and Coco smiled. Harris is a buffoon. No argument here, Coco. Pearson from the FBI was tall, crotchety, and loud. He had a close-cut military haircut. Before Strickland suspended Wendell, Pearson kicked the dirt and pinned Wendell up against the car. Then he browbeat Muddy Jacobs inside the police station. Jones could sense that he and Strickland were next. He quickly placed a call to Mark Donovan at the FBI office in Indiana. Pearson stared at his phone as he emerged from the police station. Then he scowled at Jones all the way back to his blue sedan. He spotted Coco near the blue truck. As he rounded the sedan, Jones spoke up. "Don't go there, Pearson." Pearson turned and pointed. "I'll be watching you, Jones." "You do that, Guns," said Coco. "You and your Boston buddies will go down, Stefani." He slid inside the sedan and an agent closed the door. "Hey, Guns," said Coco as Pearson turned. "I'll be watching you, too." With Coco headed back to Prince William, Jones entered the station. Strickland looked up from behind his desk. "If the FBI had stayed out of this, we might have had it solved." "Who pressured them?" asked Jones. "Your guess is as good as mine." "Pia had a dozen stitches below her shoulder, George." Strickland looked up. "What?" "I wonder if she's type O." "How do you know this?" "Inside information, and I have more." "Oh, really? What?" "George, you need to either clear Maynard or question him." Strickland looked up from his desk. "Maynard Hall is a respected member of this community and a cousin of Hamilton Fletcher." "Well, this respected member of the community was apparently smitten with Darlene Devereux, and Darlene Devereux was murdered." Now Strickland stood with his hands on the desk. "And then he became the slasher. Is that the implication?" "It follows." Wendell leaned his head in the door. "Can I come in, George?" "Yes, Wendell, come in." Wendell removed his hat and moved slowly. "I'm sorry, George." "It's not your fault, Wendell. We both got out of our cruises and we both left the engines running. Lester is very wily, you know that." "We need to find Lester and the cruiser," said Wendell. Strickland shook his head. "Guns has shut us out of it." "They won't find him," said Wendell. "Guns can't stop you from getting Maynard's fingerprints," said Jones. Strickland walked around his desk. "I'm not worried about Guns. I'm worried about Hamilton Fletcher." "What are you going to do, George?" asked Jones. "Herbert is in Bermuda, as we know. I can get one of the assistant DAs to give me his prints at the bank. All hell will break loose, but we have Charlie Post." Jones squinted. "Charlie Post?" "He contracts out to Clayton's office. Charlie can compare the tape prints from the Club Max and Maynard prints. Just because Maynard may have sent candy to Devereux doesn't mean he killed her. And somebody else from PW Credit could have sent the candy. Not what my gut is telling me. And I will question Pia. Where did she get those stitches? And what did she tell the ER or wherever she went?" "Interesting question," said Jones. "What a mess, George," said Wendell as he headed down the hall toward the restroom. Jones stepped toward the door. "Where are you going, Matthias?" "Just because you can't search for Lester doesn't mean I can't take a little trip around town." "George!" yelled Wendell from down the hall. "Wendell, don't be talking to me while you're in the John." "I'm not." Wendell looked from the end of the hall. "Lester's locked in the cell." Strickland's eyes popped and Jones followed him down the hallway. "Lester?" asked Strickland.
"I waive my rights,"
said Lester.
"Wendell, leave a message for Hamilton Fletcher that Lester is in custody."
"Okay, George."
Strickland turned.
"Lester, do you know how much trouble you're in?"
"Affirmative."
"Why did you run?"
"Framed."
"You tried to kill Coco and me," shouted Jones, stepping up to him.
"The warehouse was a police station."
"No, it wasn't," said Jones.
"Never mind that," yelled Strickland. "First, what do you have to do with Darlene Devereux's death?"
Lester gestured as if he were zipping his lips.
"Did you kill her and the others?"
Lester covered his lips. Strickland looked at the Band-Aid on his hand.
"You cut yourself on the razor, Lester."
"No, can at the dump,"
answered Lester.
"Well, you better get a good lawyer, because I think you and your dumb little motor scooter have been around all these murders of innocent women."
"Nihil novi."
"What the hell does that mean?"
"The Latin translation is," said Jones, "I know nothing." At least he finally decided to tell the truth.
Strickland stepped forward. Lester, you can't even speak English. Why use that expression?
Nihil novi.
You're going to have to deal with the FBI, said Strickland. Good luck. Jones pointed at Lester. Let me ask you this, Lester. Were you anywhere near the Alouette Boutique when Darlene Deverneaux was murdered?
Nihil novi. Nihil novi.
Do you have a lawyer?
Negative.
What do you know about Maynard Hall? Lester marched back to the bed.
Owns a bank.
He's the president of the bank, said Strickland. You saw him the night of the Deverneaux murder, did you?
Nihil novi.
Strickland's phone rang. Jones and Strickland backed into the front office. Yes, Hamilton, he's in our cell. Nobody knows. What? I can't not tell the FBI and the Prince William police. LG. I don't know if LG will agree to defend Lester. Okay, then call me right back. What did he say, George? He wants LG here before the FBI and media arrive. That's not a bad idea for the image of the school, said Jones. Strickland's cell rang. Yes, LG. I'll wait. I need to get over to my office and prepare for the game. Strickland nodded. Call me after you know about Maynard's prints. Strickland put his hand to his forehead. That's a whole other issue. Sure. Jones leaned at the door. Nihil novi. Jones picked up a coffee and a BLT at the Colonial House. Franny told him she'd be at the game. Jones thanked her, but Maynard, Pia, and Lester circled in a whirlwind inside his head. At his desk, he reviewed the plays and defenses he had practiced all week. In 6 hours, Norwich, who according to the scorebook had beat Hamilton 7 times in a row, would pull up in their bus. None of Lark's teams had ever used the fast break against Norwich. He was confident his team was getting in better shape every day. An incoming call echoed around the office. Jones,
Hello, old boy,
said Lark on another overseas line. Lark, how propitious.
Oh, do you have to use the little boy's room?
No, Lark. How's your trip going? Asked Jones, flipping over one of his plays on the clipboard near the basket.
We're in Bora Bora.
Great.
We've been skinny dipping all morning in Monster Lagoon.
Jones pinched the bridge of his nose. He did not dare tell Lark that Lester had been arrested.
Flo forgot the carpetone.
Well, don't get sunburned, Lark.
Oh, don't need a hot tushy.
Oh, boy.
The reason I called is we're flying to Lima, and then to Miami, and then home to Hamilton.
Lark, I would take a few more weeks.
Frankly, we're low on funds, old boy. I don't want to dip into my own personal accounts. Perhaps Hamilton has something in the rainy day fund.
Lark, we have a connection problem. Talk to you later. Jones stood and walked over to the large picture of Lark on the wall. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap. His cell sounded less than 10 seconds later. This is costing you money, Lark.
This is Uncle Sam. They took the axe. Blood, annihilation. Why? If you only knew why I kill. Death, over and over again.
Jones checked the Prince William number on his phone. You don't fool me. I know what the axe is. It's a trophy.
I saw it all. I'll make an exception for you, Jones. I will slash your throat with a deadly precision.
Why the play? Then the demon-inspired laughter echoed into the earpiece.
Death arrives on Saturday night.
The line went dead. Wait! After a few minutes of pacing around his office, Jones watched the play on his computer. He was far beyond trying to figure out the bizarre advancement of the ball into the end zone and the relationship to the psycho who had just called him again. Then he typed in Casa de Sol, California. The community, with its long, curled beach and rising mountains in the background, was dotted with towering palms and striking patches of green lawns and swimming pools. The azure ocean waves were banked very slowly inward from the endless Pacific. Paradise. Even though Casa de Sol was hundreds of miles from the 1982 game in Berkeley, Jones used the same search but put in the date of the play. He slowly began scrolling down. At the top of the next page was a story in The Guardian, a local newspaper, and it was about a murder
A man named Sam Richter had been slashed by his wife at a bar called the Gold Post on November 20th, 1982. The murder occurred in front of his 10-year-old daughter, Sally, yet the present-day victims were all women. "Okay, Jones," he said as he paced, "is that Pia's real name? Or does it have anything to do with Maynard Hall?" Fact, Maynard was having an affair with Darlene Devereux. He glanced at the photo of his dad he had posted on the Cork bulletin board. Fact, Pia was close friends with Devereux, and she had dropped just enough info for Jones to uncover the information about Maynard. Fact, Pia knew about the prince and the affair, but never mentioned Maynard. Were Maynard and Pia involved in some type of relationship? Did Maynard do her bidding, or was Pia the slasher? He called Strickland. After some small talk, they began speaking about the slasher. "Well, it certainly wasn't that goofball, Lester Larson."
How do you know that?
asked Strickland. "George, the slasher called me again." "A different number," Jones said, changing the screen on his phone. 603-555-3710.
Wendell will trace this number. 603-555-3710. He's on it, Matthias.
It was straight from hell, laughing and threatening to kill me on Saturday night. I asked about the play and got no answer. Write this down, George. Blood and annihilation. If you only knew why I killed, I saw it all. I'll make an exception for you, Jones. I will slash your throat with a deadly precision.
Sick. Maybe you should be armed.
No, I'm fine.
Well, whoever it is trying to scare you.
They're doing a good job.
Wendell will be at the game tonight.
Thanks.
Matthias, I think this play thing is nonsense.
Oh no, George, it's at the heart of the case. On November 20th, 1982, I'm certain the Cal-Stanford game was on a TV set in a bar called the Gold Post in Casa de Sol, California.
Where Pierre is from.
There was a murder by razor in Casa de Sol during that game. A 10-year-old girl watched her mother kill her father with a straight razor.
You're kidding.
Her name was Sally Richter. George, you need to do a background check on Pia. See if she was that 10-year-old girl.
Easily done.
George, that makes sense if she saw her father killed. I mean, if it is her. After a long silence, Strickland spoke.
I have a warrant for Charlie Post to retrieve Maynard's fingerprints from the bank. We'll settle the tape thing this afternoon while the FBI questions Lester. Guns told the media the state police captured Lester.
But Lester was in the cell when the slasher called me. He didn't do it.
If you ask me, I think Maynard's prints on that tape would be very incriminating.
Somehow Pia and Maynard and Devereux are a part of this love triangle.
I'm bringing in Pia for questioning, but I'm keeping this hush-hush. Good work, Matthias.
I don't know how all this comes together, but Lester didn't kill anybody. I think he was driving his motor scooter back when Devereux was murdered.
I agree.
Why did Lester turn himself in?
Apparently, and I'm not 100% sure, but Arnie Dewars told him he was going to be shot on sight.
"I'd like to be in that posse," said Jones. He leaned back in Lark's old chair and almost fell over. "I need a new chair."
Are you all right?
"Lark's chair." Jones sat up straight. "By the way..."
What?
"Lark is on his way back to Hamilton."
He had to come back sometime.
"He's leaving Bora Bora,"
By outrigger canoe, I hope.
said Strickland as Jones laughed. "Look, George, the boys will be here for the Norwich game in 2 hours. I'm going to finish my BLT. Let me know what's going on."
I'll be across the street at the bank. I'm sure the fireworks will fly.
said Strickland.
We'll check that phone number and then head to the Cherokee.
"I'm just afraid the slasher will strike again." The Prince William Slasher, Chapter 3. Club Max, Prince William, New Hampshire. Jones wore his new red Hamilton College jacket with gold trim and delivered to the Marlborough just this afternoon. He added his older jeans and boots. His rented van sputtered into a three-sided parking lot with cars and trucks that looked more like a new car lot.
The van had lost its power 3 times in the hills. Club Max was spelled out in oversized pink letters above the front doors. Jones rolled around several rows and found a space along the chain-link fence overlooking the river in the distance. As he got out of the car, he spotted the span Strickland had called the Crosstown Bridge when they approached from the airport. The music inside the club shook the outside area even at this distance. On the phone, Coco had been excited about being able to show off the club after talking about it out west. He hinted about the girls in the club wanting to meet Jones. Jones was slightly hesitant about frequenting Club Max after a convincing lecture from Father Gallagher just a half an hour ago when he dropped off the basketball game passes at the St. Bart's Rectory. Yet he was about to step through the oversized Spanish panel door ahead. A tall man in a green silk shirt and gray slacks nodded at him and opened the door. The music now shook his bones as the bright lights blinded him at first. A long neon bar extended diagonal toward the rear of the club. To the side, a wood dance floor buzzed with partying patrons following the beat of a 3-piece band up front. On the other side, dartboards provided a game area for additional people. Others sat at round tables surrounding the dart games. "You ain't gonna find a chick by standing at the door, Jonesy." Jones turned. Coco had a cigarette in his mouth. His silver earring reflected the spinning lights over the dance floor. He gave Jones a thumb-lock handshake. "Nice place, Coco." "I knew you'd like it," he said, moving his head toward the bar. "Come on, I'll get you a beer, Jonesy." "Great," said Jones as he followed Coco toward the long bar. "I could use a beer after that stupid van conked out 3 times. I told you to go to Godzilla Rentals." "I know you did." "Gallagher called." "Why?" asked Jones over the general noise. "He told me not to let you get into trouble." Coco pulled 2 chairs back, turned. The man with wide shoulders and pushed-back black hair turned. "Hey, Jones. Bruno?" "Get Jonesy a beer. Where's Holly?" "Down back." Coco looked over his shoulder. "Good." "Coco, I didn't come here to pick up Holly." "Who said she'd give you the chance?" asked Coco. Jones smiled. "Chance for what?" "Don't be naive, Jonesy," said Coco, grabbing 2 beers from Bruno. "Come over to my private table." Jones followed Coco over to the dart area. A small table under 2 yellow-lit wall lamps had 3 chairs. Coco set down the beers. A humongous man in a New England Patriots shirt threw dart after dart into the bullseye. "That guy is phenomenal," said Jones. "And a big boy," laughed Coco, putting out his cigarette. "But that's not his forte." Jones sipped his beer. "What does he do?" "Man has a ridiculous memory. Nobody can beat Junior at trivia." Coco waved Junior over once he turned from the board. Junior had bushy hair and slits for eyes. He carried an oversized beer mug. Coco quickly moved another chair against the outside chair. "Jonesy, this is Junior." "Hey, what's up?" "Ask him a sports question, Jonesy." "Okay. Walter Johnson's lifetime 1-loss record." Junior furrowed his brow and then sipped the beer. 417, 279. "You can look it up," said Coco. "No, I think he's right." "'Course he's right. Junior's never wrong." Petite blonde in a short maroon dress sauntered up to the table. She had thin, frosted lips. "Hello, Junior." "Hey, Miss H." Her blue eyes swung toward Jones. "I'm Holly." Coco placed another chair between Jones and Junior. Holly sat down. "Take a break, Holly." "How do you do?" She had a velvet voice. "Coco tells me you tracked down your father's killer. I'm sorry." "We found him." "Frank Otoski," said Junior. "Now how the hell do you know that, Junior?" Junior tapped his index finger against his head. "I'm not surprised." "We had a full week of testimony last month," said Jones. "Frankie Ski got 25 to life." "Yeah, and Sherman is all done," added Coco. "And the goof was out there," said Junior. "Lester?" asked Holly. "She knows old Fishface," said Jones. "Very clever," said Holly, smiling again at Jones. "No, Coco came up with that one," said Jones. "Where is Fishface now?" "Hopefully in Canada. I had to pay Picard a campaign donation just to stop Mr. Manzetti from suing my ass." "What a wild man," said Holly. "It's a wonder somebody didn't shoot Lester." "I came close," said Coco. "Real close." "Say, Coach,
said Holly, her smooth hand holding Jones's hand. "I get off at midnight." "We'll catch up," said Jones as she stood. He watched her leave and then caught sight of Coco nodding. "Good line, Jonesy." Jones finished the beer. "She's cute. Hey, Junior, play Jonesy at darts. I'll send a pitcher of beer over. I need to make a few calls out back." Coco moved between the tables as Junior finished his beer. "You want to do flamin' shots?" asked Junior. "I'll pass on the shots, Junior, but I will play darts." Junior nodded. "I'm right about Walter Johnson. I believe you. All I know, and all I care to know, is 3,508 strikeouts. That's a lot of KOs, Junior." Jones had not seen Coco in 2 hours. Junior lifted the flaming shot glass into the air. Incredibly, he swallowed the full concoction and instantly poured the beer into his mouth. Then he flung the dart into the bullseye. "Outrageous," said Jones. Holly held on to his elbow. He had just lost his 3rd straight game. "I can't beat you, Junior." "What is this, the Hustler?" asked Coco, appearing behind him. "I told you he was good, Jonesy." "Everything okay?" "Of course. Just a little bullshit with a rabble-rouser here in the club. Professor at the college, Davis. The old man has some bio project going at the college, but the guy is out of control." "Hamilton?" "No, wise guy," said Coco, smiling with a cigarette in his hand. "The old man never lets nothing get in the way of making money." Holly started to leave. "Catch you later, Jonesy." Jones watched her tight maroon dress merge into the crowd. Coco slid over and hit his arm. "Not bad, Jonesy." "There's nothing going on here, Coco," said Jones loudly over the saxophone. "Yeah, right. Listen, I talked to people in Boston. There's credible word that Fish Face is back in New Hampshire." "He has to face charges in Indiana," said Jones. "Who told you that?" "Hey, you didn't hear nothing as far as the outside world goes." Jones gestured with his open palms. "I'm the last one who wants to butt into Boston's business." "Good choice. Junior seems to know so much. He absorbs everything." "Like flaming shots?" said Coco, pointing at Junior, holding another flaming shot. "Right." Coco wrapped his wrist. "Hey, I had Ralphie look at the van. It's a piece of—" I know. He put a Band-Aid on it. Turn that thing in tomorrow and see Mooch down at Godzilla." "Thanks." "My pleasure. Holly's a good girl, Jonesy. Treat her nice." Jones stared at the blue-rimmed clock nearing midnight. Half an hour ago, Coco had entered his main office to the right of his table. The music still rocked, and the dance floor was filled with constant motion under the blue and red spotlights. Jones had plans for Holly and wanted to dance with her and spend some time talking to her at one of the tables. He had forgotten that he had promised Father Gallagher he would be at 9 a.m. Mass. At 12:15, he stood and began checking the tables for Holly. A short man in a checkered jacket stumbled into the lobby. At first, Jones thought he was drunk, but the man recovered and scampered toward Coco's office. He pounded on the door. Somebody opened the door and fluorescent light expanded into the club. Seconds later, Coco emerged behind the guy. His face tightened and he rounded the tables to the front door. Both men disappeared into the parking lot. Jones again checked the club for Holly and then headed for the front door. A few other people followed him outside. Coco stood around 50 feet away to Jones's left, with a short guy in front of a gray Porsche. He stared at something on the asphalt and then raised a cell phone to his ear as he gestured and spoke into the phone. Jones felt as if he were moving in slow motion across the parking lot. At first he saw high heels and a woman's legs. Then the maroon dress merged with a spreading blood pool. His throat tightened and his jaw fell. Holly's neck had been sliced from the ear, midway across her throat. White duct tape sealed her frosted lips. Coco saw Jones and tried to push him back. "It's a slasher, Jonesy. Get back!" Coco held both her hands. Jones did not look away until he saw her blue eyes still open. In the distance, police sirens slowly became louder. Soon the red and blue lights trailed along the river and brightened as the cruisers neared Club Max's parking lot. Jones backed up a few steps as several officers flew out of the cruiser. He stared at Holly's legs as other unmarked sedans arrived. Her throat was sliced like a knife into a slab of beef, and thin white duct tape covered her mouth. The pervasive smell of gin filled the night air. Her dress was bloodied. He spotted the sandy-haired Kevin Phillips looping on his sport coat over his blue shirt. "What happened, Coco?" asked Phillips. Coco spoke in a lower voice as he gently released Holly's hands. "Darcy here saw one of my girls on the ground. He came in the club and got me out here. Junior heard a motorcycle and saw a gray hooded guy in a trench coat on a motorbike." Phillips winced when he saw Holly. He cleared his throat. "Name of victim." "Holly Withers. She lives here in Prince William, Canal Street." "What did you see, Darcy?" asked Phillips, writing something on his notepad.
I didn't hear a scream or anything. I heard a thud and I ran back. In the street, a small motorcycle buzzed away. I didn't see it. I heard it. Junior says he saw it."
"You saw nothing," said Phillips. Jones noticed blood splatter down Holly's arm and the blood-saturated dress. To her left, a dark pocketbook and a pack of cigarettes lay on the pavement. The hefty Kip Bosco from Vice appeared behind Phillips's car. He gnawed on a donut and held a Big Mama's coffee cup.
"Okay, you cowboys, rock and roll,"
said Kip, some of the frosted donuts still in his mustache. "Hold it, Kip," said Jones. "I need to talk to Phillips."
"I'm in charge here, Coachy."
Jones ignored Kip and stepped closer to Phillips. "Kevin, Matthias, this is brutal. There's a different blood trail on her arm and back. The slasher may have been cut by his own blade." Phillips raised his brows and peered over Jones's shoulder. "You're right. What a shame."
"I'll be the one grilling you, Stefani, and Big Junior inside," said Kip, finishing the donut. "Let's go, cowboys."
"I don't need you to tell me to go anywhere, Kippy," said Coco.
"Watch it, Coco,"
said Kip, pointing.
"or I'll have to bring you downtown."
"Yeah, you do that, Kippy," said Coco as he lit a cigarette and steered Jones toward the front door. "Come on, Jonesy. We don't want to get Fat Boy mad."
The Prince William Slasher, Chapter 4. St. Bart's Rectory, Prince William, New Hampshire. The front room was lit by both floor lamps and a widescreen TV. Jones's stomach remained queasy. He probably would not have signaled for the rectory parking lot had Gallagher been asleep. The night air had cooled and the wind had swung in from the north, pushing back his hair as he moved with his hands in his coat pockets up the front walk. He glanced at the parking lot at the van and shook his head. Jones pushed the tiny doorbell button. The bell was loud enough to be heard through both doors. The porch light brightened the gray clapboards. The orange-haired Gallagher, in a gray bathrobe, dipped his head outward. His blue eyes focused on Jones. "Come to take back the basketball passes, Matthias?" "Jim, I was over at Club Max." "Please, come in. I'm just watching the Celtics wrap-up. They're playing the Warriors out on the coast." "I still can't believe it." Jones moved in the hallway's warmer air. "Can I get you a drink?" Jones noticed the empty glass on the side table. "No, I just need to talk, Father." "Sit down, Matthias," said Gallagher, motioning him toward the dark leather sofa. He turned down the TV volume. After an awkward silence, Jones cleared his throat. "The Slasher hit Club Max, Jim." "Oh, dear God," said Gallagher, scooping up the glass. "In the club itself?" "Father, that girl Holly was a waitress. Coco introduced me earlier." Almost instantly, Gallagher returned with 2 glasses. "Have the brandy." "Thanks." When Coco ran outside, I followed him into the parking lot. She was murdered near the second row of cars. How do you know it was the Slasher? Jones sipped the brandy and rolled his tongue over his lips as he nodded. "Razor cut to the neck, duct tape on the mouth, blood pool on the pavement, and gin." Gallagher leaned forward. "That's awful. Poor girl." "My dad used to tell me that even though he had seen a lot in his career, outright murder had a cold stillness. Now I know what he meant." "What did the police say?" "I talked with Kevin Phillips. He has a lot more on the ball than that big mouth Bosco." "Bosco is on the take.
How do you know that, Father? What'd they do? Supply him with truckloads of Big Mama's donuts? Gallagher half smiled. I'm still stunned. When you actually see someone murdered, it's different. She was such a nice girl. Well, you're welcome to stay in one of my spare rooms. I know you're still at the Marlborough in Hamilton. Not a bad idea, Father. Well, that will accomplish two things. You'll get a better night's sleep. What's the other? You'll be at Mass in the morning. Jones sat in a worn oak pew as Gallagher's voice boomed from the pulpit about examining one's conscience. He did not think the homily was directed at him and Club Max, but he wasn't sure. The priest attracted a huge following. In this secular age, the stone-block church was full of parishioners. Jones's eyes, even though he had slept 7 hours, ached as the sunlight produced a spread of colors through the stained glass on the gray stone walls. In summation, said Gallagher, his words echoing between the stone walls, when you think what you're doing is wrong, it probably is. Jones's head filled with multiple images of Holly, throat split and tape over her mouth, sprawled dead in the Club Max parking lot. Beautiful harmonic music, Gloria in Excelsis from the choir loft, seemed at odds with thoughts of the gruesome discovery. He wanted to know why there was additional blood on Holly's arm and the other side of the dress. His throat tightened every time he thought of speaking with her at the table. The motorcycle's driver, fading into the Prince William night, bothered him. In some strange cross-tie scenario, he questioned whether Coco's information about Lester Larson being back in New Hampshire was just a rumor. Maybe speaking with the Enterprise owner, Tom McGill, might clarify the enigma called Lester Larson. After church, the St. Bart's Women's Club pancake breakfast was held in the parish hall, where Jones had first met Gallagher playing basketball. Besides being stuffed with a variety of pancakes, Jones met and conversed with a dozen or more women from the women's club, but he was anxious to get back to Hamilton. Then Aunt May called from Indiana.
Don't let a murder shut down your life, is what Bill used to say,
said Aunt May. I remember.
What does your friend Philip say?
She asked. Forensically, there's a problem for the killer. The razor cut to the neck was evident, but there was blood on the arm and the side of her dress. Phillips has the medical examiner looking at it.
You mean the killer might have cut himself on the razor?
We'll see. The other thing was the motorcycle.
The killer?
Asked Aunt May. I don't know. Junior saw a gray hooded driver in a trench coat on what he called a motor scooter. Other people just heard the engine. And here's the thing, Aunt May. The other murdered woman had no witnesses, but they were all killed on Saturday nights.
You need a physical suspect.
There was another murder 2 years ago in Hamilton. Lady's throat slashed. No duct tape, no gin. Anyway, Father Gallagher was nice enough to let me stay in the rectory. Father's a sports nut and has a parish sports program.
Excuse me, Matthias, but was the Hamilton murder on a Saturday night?
I don't know.
Well, find out.
I'll let you know, Aunt May.
You won't tell me anything unless I call.
Jones laughed. Well, I guess that's true. Goodbye, Aunt May. Jones veered toward the coffee urn and was ready to travel back to the Marlborough. He was due later today to meet with Hamilton Fletcher and the college trustees. My son plays all sports, said a thin woman at the coffee urn. That's great. It's always good for youngsters to play sports. Oh, yes, he can throw a football 60 yards, she said, her eyes sparkling. 60 feet is pretty good. No, 60 yards. Jones's head snapped to the right. Well, how old is this wonder boy? 17. He played for St. Barnabas High School. St. Barnabas in the city? Asked Jones. Yes. Our high school has been in existence for 52 years. Well, that's great, said Jones, smiling. I'd like to see him throw sometime. Oh, Jimmy's here. We can have him come over to the college, said Jones. I'll find Father Jim and we'll get a football. She started toward Gallagher down the other end as Jones called out. What's your name, ma'am? Mary Butterfino, she called back. Butterfino. Gallagher was heavily engaged with 3 men in suits. When Mrs. Butterfino spoke up, Gallagher opened his eyes wide and excused himself from the men. Then he opened a side door. Half a minute later, Gallagher spun the football to Jones. Jones gave him the thumbs up. Mrs. Butterfino had entered the parish hall with a dark-haired, lanky 6-footer. He had sharp, black eyes. "Jimmy, I'm Coach Jones," he said, placing the ball in Jimmy's hands. "You can call me Buddha. I like real names," said Jones, thinking of Lark's lexicon of player nicknames. "Come outside. Your mother says you can throw 60 yards. "I can do that." They retreated into the rectory parking lot. Jones pointed to the far corner near the dumpster. "I'm going to go across the lot. You stretch your arm first, and when I give you the signal, throw it to me." "Okay, Coach." He looked at his nimble mother with a half grin. Jimmy trotted down the sidewalk to the corner of the parish hall. Jones stood near the sidewalk shrubbery on Belfast Street. As Jimmy stretched his arm, Holly's body at Club Max again materialized in Jones's thoughts. For 10 minutes he had forgotten about the slasher. He shook his head as if he could get rid of that ghastly image. "Ready, Jimmy?" "Ready." Jimmy held the ball forward as if he were getting the snap from center. Jones was sure he was at least 70 yards away, but Jimmy even reached the edge of the parking lot. He scrambled back and hurled the ball high into the blue sky. A stunned Jones watched the ball sail over his head and bounce onto Belfast Street. Jones turned as Jimmy jogged back toward him. "I told you, Coach," said Mrs. Butterfino. "Where'd you learn to throw like that?" asked Jones. "Always had a good arm, I guess." "You want me to get the ball?" "Yeah, just don't get hit by a car." Jones slowly smiled as Jimmy hurdled the shrubs. He had the ball in seconds and again scaled the bushes, but this time with the ball under his arms. Then he and Jones started toward the parish hall door. "What are your grades like?" asked Jones. "Okay," said Jimmy. "Just okay. Grades need to be there, Jimmy. I want you to come over at the end of the week. I'll show you the campus." Jones put his hand on Jimmy's shoulder. "You bet." "Well?" asked Gallagher. "Very impressive. I'll have him over the college, Mrs. Butterfino. Get some times and accurate measurements. I think he has a great future." "Thanks, Coach." "You have an assistant coach yet?" asked Gallagher. "I want Woozy Williams from Indiana, but I'm afraid Hamilton Fletcher is impatient." "You know Hamilton." "I do." Jones left St. Bart's around noon. He smiled at Gallagher's handwritten map, directing him by shortcuts to the road connecting to Hamilton. A smile came to his face as he thought about the dynamic Gallagher at the pancake breakfast. Gallagher's quick wit and directness impressed Jones. He was more genuine than the stuffy Monsignor Nowicki, but he knew that in Jimmy Butterfino he had just found his first recruit. Before he left the city, Jones called Kevin Phillips. Phillips told Jones he had new information and put him on hold as he retrieved his report.
"I'd like to run this by you, Matthias. Here's what I have,"
said Phillips as Jones started the van up the highway over the Devonshire hills.
"You caught something significant with the arm blood and more on the back. Holly's blood was A, the other blood was O. The killer messed up. We also have prints for the first time on the duct tape. And the tape is not the same tape. It's a little thinner, not as wide.
Don't you find that odd, Kevin?
More stupid than odd. Guy always wore gloves and he pulled the tape off the roll. But on one side of this tape is a pristine set of left-handed fingerprints.
Why on one side of the tape?
Well, maybe he had the glove off on one hand. I don't know. We'll have more witness statements later today also."
Jones shifted as the road angled upward along the rocks. Right, you'd still have to grab the other side of the tape with your other hand, or cut it.
But there's one additional fact you're not going to like.
What's that?
Herbert Lane does not like you.
My heart is broken.
We all got chewed out from Bermuda because he said Kip Bosco told him you were snooping around the murder scene.
I was at Club Max with Holly earlier.
I told that to Herbert. Herbert questioned Coco this morning from Bermuda. Kip said that Coco was a suspicious character.
Coco was inside Club Max when Holly was murdered.
I have statements from 11 people and counting that will verify his presence inside Club Max. We have more outside statements later today, and we'll compare those to what you saw.
That's a good idea. Jones reached the Devonshire crest, and the blue sky widened over the distant hills. The town and college were highlighted in the bright sunshine. To his left in the distance was the Fletcher estate, the green lawn bordering the house and the woods beyond. One other thing, Kevin.
Sure.
Do I have permission to talk to McGill at the Enterprise?
Yeah, that's okay, but leave the Prince and Clayton Morris's blood work out of this.
Okay.
Just account what you saw and leave me out of it. I don't need Lane busting my chops on this.
We don't want Herbert to blow off his toupee in a fit of rage,
I'd like to see that.
said Phillips, laughing. I won't mention our conversation.
Okay, look, I know the work you did in Cleveland, Matthias, and I know of your father's reputation. I talked with Mark Donovan of the FBI directly. If you come up with something, let me know.
Will do. Jones caught sight of the stadium and surrounding buildings outside of town. Although First Parish's white steeple was visible, the town common itself was out of sight. Railroad tracks passed the lumber yard that he assumed belonged to Arnie Dewars and continued under the bridge near the Colonial House. His phone shook. At first he just stared, wondering who had his phone number. Then he picked up. Jones heard a blast of wind and car horns. Who is this? A low, slurred voice rattled the speaker.
This is Uncle Sam. You like football? Remember the play?
I heard of it. You mean Stanford versus USC, 1982, before my time, pal.
How many laterals do we have?
Are you the slasher?
I saw you, Jones, with her at Club Max. I'm tricky. I had to move upfield.
The call ended. Uncle Sam. 4 or 5 lateral passes. Hello! Hello! Jones pulled over to the shoulder near the entrance to some rock quarries. He quickly checked the number, 603-555-0121. The phone line rang again. Jones opened the line. Listen, you murdering son of a bitch,
What the hell are you talking about, Jones?
asked Herbert Lane on a scratchy line.
I heard you were touchy.
The killer. He just called me on the phone.
Sure he did. Exactly why I'm calling you. I know you talked to Phillips.
I had a few questions, Herbert.
No more questions. Stay out of this, Jones. Leave it to the professionals.
I'm only trying to help you, Herbert, as you take in the sun.
You can call me Mr. District Attorney.
Jones's incredulous expression was evident in the mirror. He pushed the thumb on the end button. Mr. District Dum-Dum. As the land leveled out a few minutes later, near apartments outside of town, Jones called Phillips. The line rang and he was about to hang up when the lieutenant answered.
Matthias, Herbert just contacted my office, and he was going to call you.
He did. I tried to tell him the killer just called me.
He never mentioned that.
Phillips's voice sounded tense.
How do you know it was the killer?
603-555-0121.
We'll check that out right now. Thanks.
The caller referred to the play.
What play?
1982 football championship between USC and Stanford. One of the weirdest kickoff returns of all time. 5 pass laterals, and they ran it into the end zone to win the game.
Why would the slasher bring this up?
Asked Phillips. I don't know. Obviously, he saw me inside Club Max with Holly last night. Somehow he's linked me with murdering Holly. It makes no sense. He called himself Uncle Sam.
Weird. And did you tell Lane this?
He refused to talk about it.
Wow. John Tully is checking that number.
Fine with me,
What does the play mean?
asked Phillips. It's one of those miracle plays. It looks as though they've practiced it for years. No rhyme or reason.
Okay, we'll check this out, Matthias.
Thanks, Kevin, and say hello to Mr. District Dum-Dum. Phillips broke into a laugh.